What's up, guys? All right, let's talk about something today that is crazy important. And I'm getting this question over and over and over again, whether it's my email inbox, DMs on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, regardless of what platform, I'm getting this question all the time. And I'm going to coincide that with the fact that it's one of the most important things you can do as an entrepreneur. And it's, what books should I be reading? I'm a voracious reader. I read a lot, and so I don't want to overwhelm you with all of the books that I read because I read about a book a week, right? But if I had to pick just for this year alone and going forward, I have 3 books that I'm going to cover with you today. But before we get into that, I want to first talk to you about something and why I feel like this is really important. I was just reading that 26% of U.S. adults say that they have not read part of a book in the last year. So my logic and thinking is that if 26% of people, which is a fourth of the population, if you haven't figured out that math yet, if a fourth of the population is saying that they haven't even read part of a book, let alone an entire book, odds are with a survey like that, most people are going to be too embarrassed to actually answer the truth. So those 26% of people are just very transparent, but odds are there's still a significant more number of people, in addition to that 26%, that haven't read part of the book. That's a scary proposition, and I'm going to tell you why. It's been, the numbers is arguable, right? But I've read up to as much as 80% of billionaires, the Warren Buffetts, the Tony Robbins, the Mark Cubans. They are notorious for how much they read, how much they learn, and how much they implement the things that they read and learn. So if you look at those people and you think about how in the world do they have enough time with everything that goes on in their day, I'm going to kind of throw something to you. I'm going to be a contrarian. I'm going to throw something at you that maybe makes you rethink that entire paradigm. Maybe we'll completely shift the lens by which you view success in growing a successful business as an entrepreneur. It's not a matter of do they have the time, it's do they not have the time to invest in their business and invest in themselves in the way that they do, right? So we have to figure out and rework the way that we view how to achieve success. Because ultimately, and this is what I found, growing a multiple 7-figure business out of my college apartment, I was very much like the go, 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 work hard, reading is whatever, like we'll get to that at whatever point. Like it's that I need to hustle and that I need to work hard. That's the things that are going to get results. And that worked. It did. Hard work, you can't replace anything and you can't substitute anything for hard work. I'm not saying that's not the case. But the fact of the matter is what we found was that revenue growth and growth of the business, the stability and the foundation of the business, that we falsely coincide those two measurements. Right? That metric, we paint a narrative that just because you're achieving milestones in terms of your revenue growth, it means that the business must be growing too. And that is not the case. Okay? And so what we found was that, yes, we're doing well. We were growing the business in terms of sales, in terms of revenue, but in terms of what we need to be doing to invest in me, the entrepreneur, building solid systems and foundations, making sure that we had systems in place to have happy and healthy employees, making sure we had a strong culture, making sure that we were doing customer support on the back end to make sure that our customers were satisfied and weren't dealing with a mess on the back end. So there were all of these things that we just didn't think about because it was like, well, we're making sales and we're generating revenue, right? And so that became costly. And the more you grow, the costlier those bad decisions are. And so what we found, before I get into my books, and I know you're waiting and I'm getting to it, right? What we found was that by sitting down and reading a mere 10 to 15 minutes a day, which is effectively what I started doing because my ADD brain just couldn't do more than that when I first started reading and engaging in my learning, 11 pages, 15 minutes a day, nothing, right? Minimal. Was that taking that time was like sharpening my axe, okay? And so moving forward, what we saw was we had the same rate of growth, right? Again, depends on what paradigm or what lens you view that through. But the big thing was this. We weren't making the same mistakes, and the growth was actually happening at a faster, a more efficient rate. Because ultimately what happened was this, when we were just going crazy and trying to, grow and willpower away, sheer willpower to growth, yeah, you can achieve that. But what you're not factoring is the times that you take a step forward and take 3 steps back because you made a poor decision, because you weren't prepared to enter into that phase of your business, right? And so what we found was that, yes, we were still growing. We were working less crazy hours, but more efficiently, and backing that up with stuff that we had learned to implement into the business. And what we found is that it did not have any result at all adversely on the rate by which we grew. And in fact, we did it at a more efficient rate than we were previously. So That all said, I'm not going to pitch you anyone reading. You know it's important. I know it's important, and it's okay, right? We're all here. The fourth of the country admits that they don't read. That's all well and good. So I'm going to give you my top 3 reads for this year, and then I'm going to talk to you about something that I think is really going to help you as it relates to your reading, and then not only learning things, but making sure that these books don't just sit on a shelf and collect dust. How you're going to take this information, apply it to your life and business so that you get real tangible results, and it's just a matter of just putting more information into your brain. All right, so this is my first book. This is the first one I recommend for 2018. I read this book this year for the first time. It's called Essentialism, okay, by Greg McKeown. Phenomenal, life-changing, top 5, top 10, somewhere in there, book that I've ever read in my life. And I'm going to tell you why. As entrepreneurs, we have this distinct notion that, again, what I was just talking about, we have to go, and say yes to everything. And the Tony Robbins and the Tim Ferrisses and all these guys, like, they just say yes to everything. They're flying here, they're going there, they're doing this, they're doing that. They're doing this crazy juggling act, right? They're basically in the circus, doing all this crazy stuff. This book dispels that notion. This book dispels that logic. And on top of that, it says further, and to the contrary, that those people, they're actually doing less. Less equals more in every single facet that you can possibly imagine. And I'll give you an example. So let's say you've got a guy that's sitting at home on his mom's couch and he's not working. Well, the logic is going to tell you that he needs to work more to make more money. But it also is going to be coupled with the fact that he needs to stop playing so much Xbox. He needs to stop hanging out with his friends. He needs to stop drinking so much alcohol. He needs to stop doing this stuff. So with that one more, there's about 5 to 6 immediate lesses that I can think of, right? So in that particular instance, yes, more work, but also less of a lot of other things. This book is going to tell you not only that, yeah, less be very, very hyper-focused on what specifically is going to move you forward, but making no your default and then convincing yourself yes. So that is a huge summary of what this book entails. There's a lot more in this book, but it's built around the psychology and the psyche of the premise of what is the essential, most core, foundational thing that I need to be doing in my life, in my business, with my health, regardless, like every aspect of your life. This is a way of life. This is like, people talk about minimalism, essentialism. It's the exact same thing. This is a way of living. It is going to change literally. And I'll give you an example. Had a dear friend of mine was in a huge situation in his life where he had to make a big life-changing decision where it was going to mean sacrifices had to be made. It was going to be moving across literally to the other side of the world, and was struggling with that decision because his default was yes, because he'd been conditioned to think, well, this is what you do. You say yes to new opportunities. You say yes to this. You say yes to that, right? And we all find ourselves in that situation. He read this book on the plane to go make that decision and changed his mind and decided to not make the decision. That's how powerful this book is. So that's my number one. These are all in order. This is my number one book. If you don't read anything else in 2018 and beyond, read this book, Essentialism. All right, book number 2, High-Performance Habits with Brendon Burchard. Brendon Burchard is like my spirit animal, right? When I grow up, I want to be like Brendon Burchard. This is what you're going to learn in this book. This is a thick, this is a lot of whale blubber in this one, right? We have this idea, at least a lot of us do, it's a very pervasive idea that people that are high performers are just inherently born that way, right? They're just the type that it's just the way they're wired, it's just something in their DNA, they just wake up at 4 in the morning and they just want to get after it. Brendon's team spent thousands of hours and probably hundreds of thousands of dollars to figure out what are the main core habits of the biggest peak performers and high performers in the world. And then what they've done is that they've actually broken those down into 6 core habits. And they teach you each one of those core habits. Now, here's the cool part about it. Each one of those 6 are skills and rituals and habits that anyone can apply. So it's not a matter of they were just born with a silver spoon or just born with this like drive and fire to like do what it is they do. These are learned skills, not just innate abilities that they have. That's really good news for you and I, right? So this is a really tough read. I'm not going to lie to you. But if you can master this one, man, this is good stuff in this. And it's backed up by science. I love theoretical books, but when it comes to practical application and really looking at the science behind things, this book gives you that. So really, really good one to read. Again, super, super thick. I don't know if you can tell. It's like 300, 400 pages. It is long. It's a tough, it's a very difficult read. It's not the easiest read of the year. But even if it takes you a few months, knock this one out. It's really going to make a big impact in your life. All right, book number 3, the final one we're going to cover today. This is an oldie. This is an oldie but a goodie. This is Rework. This was written by the guys from Basecamp. right? It was 37 Signals then, it's now Basecamp. So you've maybe seen their online platform, you may have used it yourself, you may be a current customer of theirs. I see too many entrepreneurs that haven't read this book. It's a New York Times bestseller. I've just seen too many entrepreneurs that haven't even heard of this book. And so I went back and read this book, and I'm often asked, and I mentioned earlier about how we had early success, with our first company and grew to multiple 7 figures. And what I found was, I hadn't read this book yet. I wasn't introduced to this book at that time. But what I found was that, man, if I had just read this book, because all the things that I learned and all the things that we experienced in that process and the successes that we did have, these were the realizations that we came to as the stuff they talk about in this book. So I think this is really going to make an astronomical difference. If you're just starting out, these 3 are musts. If you haven't started your business yet, these 3 are musts. If you have already started your business, I think there's a lot of stuff foundationally that you can go back and correct and change, what have you, and pivot based on this book. Or maybe you're stuck right now. This is going to get you beyond that stuck phase, as well as all 3 of these other books. So I do it in those specific order, in that specific order that I mentioned them, 1, 2, 3. And that's for a reason, right? Because I think you're going to learn the essence of the essentialism, then the habits, and then work on the business. So I gave them to you in that order for a reason. I would read them in that particular order, in those 3 in that particular order. So now, we're going to talk about something else. This is the part I said I was going to give you something that could maybe help you. I was getting all these requests, right? I was getting all these people asking me, like, man, like, what books are you reading, this and that? Like, I told you about that, right? So we decided to create something to benefit you, the entrepreneur. And so what we've done is we've created an entire community around basically this book club idea, right? This digital book club community. It's called the VIP Room. And essentially what we do is every single month we read a book as a collective, right? So you order your book, you read it, and at the end of every month, I actually present a web class on my major takeaways, general summaries, things you may have missed, and then also how you should be applying it into your life and business and how I'm applying it into mine and getting results. So the cool thing about that is that you're going to see within the community other people taking that information and applying it and being like, wow, I did this and this is what happened and this is what we learned from that. And the practical application was great, but this is what we really learned after applying it to our business. So it's the accountability. So, think about this. How many times did you set out to work out at 6 o'clock in the morning and you woke up at 5:30 the first few days and you did it, and then by day 4, that was the end of that, right? You just didn't do it. And it's not because you lack willpower, motivation, or you're a terrible person. Like, it doesn't have anything to do with that. It's that we have to surround ourselves with the right resources, the right support, and the right framework to really achieve success, right? And so that's what this is going to do. I believe those 26% of people that said that they just read a part of a book, I think it's because they just set themselves up to fail. They didn't give themselves a structure. They didn't have an accountability group like a gym buddy that's going to go with you at 6 in the morning to work out. It's the same paradigm. It's the exact same thing we're looking for. So we're launching that community as of October the 28th of 2018, whenever time you're listening to this video. That launches, as I'm recording this, launches in 3 days. So the cool thing is, too, is if you're watching this video now and it's not the 28th yet of October of 2018, I'm going to invite you to check out my early bird link, because with that early bird link, you're going to get access to not just the VIP room community, but also my sales email follow-up formula, which is an entire mini course on the structure that I use with my email follow-ups, and I've used that to land multiple 6-figure contracts. I've used that to land 3 of the sharks from Shark Tank on my podcast, as well as 40 plus New York Times bestselling authors and primetime TV hosts have all joined me on my podcast, Entrepreneur Hour, and it's the exact same framework that I use every single day. So you get access to that 100% free. One of my strategic partners is going to be giving a training that's going to come with it, 100% free, as well as several other bonuses that cost thousands of dollars, in terms of the value of that. And you're not going to find them anywhere else on my website, on the internet, anywhere. You're not going to find them. It is just, and definitely not for free, it is just for members of the early bird to the VIP room when you purchase, when we open up the cart to early birds. So I'm going to invite you to check that out. If you go to chrismichaelharris.com/VIP, like very important person, chrismichaelharris.com/VIP. That link is included below in the description. Guys, if you like this video and you got a lot of value out of it, make sure you leave a comment below, give us a big like, and hit that subscribe button for future videos. And I'd also like to invite you, link is included there, if you want to listen to my podcast and hear more thoughts from me, my guests, the people that join me on a weekly basis, that link to the podcast Entrepreneur Hour with Chris Michael Harris is included in there as well. Hope this serves you well. Happy reading. See you soon, and see you on the next one. See you guys.